Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Animal Fiber Roundtable Meeting, Focus South Africa. Today's presentation will be recorded and sent out to all registered participants and also be posted on the Hub. We will have a Q&A portion throughout the presentation. You can type your questions into the question box on the webinar doc. Now on to Anna with Textile Exchange. Anna?
Thank you very much, Rose, and thank you very much to all of you for joining us today. As ever, we've got a lot to get through in this webinar and some really great presentations and speakers to come. I have a little bit of housekeeping to start, and just a reminder really of why we're here, the Animal Fibers Roundtable. And the purpose of the Animal Fibers Roundtable is to support Textile Exchange's sustainability vision with a focus on wool, mohair, alpaca, cashmere and yak. And we do this through gathering industry members to identify barriers to growth, identify impacts and opportunities, and to take collective action that results in meaningful impacts. And in this meeting, we're going to be sharing feedback from industry representatives, including the Mohair Empowerment Trust, on the value of the Responsible Wool Standard and Responsible Mohair Standard certifications throughout the value chain, support systems, prices and supply and demand. And then we also have a report on China's recent foot and mouth ban on South Africa as well. So as you can see, a lot to get through. And I'll do, as I say, a little bit of housekeeping, and then we have this range of speakers from different organisations in South Africa. We'll introduce them as we come to them within the presentation. The one minor change here is that speaker for Everett is not able to join us, but Marku is very kindly going to just present Everett's slides. So we'll still be having that information within the webinar. Everything we do, Textile Exchange, we have the antitrust statement, we convene the textile community, and we value diversity of views, expertise, opinions, backgrounds, and experiences. We expect that members of the community will collaborate by sharing ideas, information, and resources of publicly available information only, and avoid discussions on price, strategic plans, and other private and sensitive information. And this meeting is taking part under the Chatham House rule. So you're free to use the information received, but in terms of sort of comments and follow-up, you should not be identifying the identity or affiliation of the speaker or other participants. With the Animal Fibers Roundtable, many of you will have been members for quite some time. We've recently revised our terms of reference, and we've done this as part of work to bring all of our roundtables under the same umbrella and make sure that we're managing all the different roundtables across the different materials in the same way. And we are asking that even if you've been a member for a long time, that you use the link that's provided here and that will be in when we send out the presentation, the recording afterwards, that you do sign the new form, and allows us to update it on our internal systems. And you can obviously see the details of what we're doing. It's really just saying what are our goals, what are we trying to do, and how we want to work with you, the members of the roundtable. A reminder here that the Textile Exchange Conference will be held in Colorado Springs, Colorado on the 14th to the 18th of November 2022. And the 14th of November, the Monday of that week, is when we will be holding our Animal Fibers Roundtable Summit. So that's our big meeting of the year. We're actually this year doing it in conjunction with the Leather Roundtable. So basically all the animal materials will be coming together in one big summit meeting on the Monday. We'd love to see you there if you can get there in person, but as it notes here, we're doing this as a hybrid conference, so it'd be possible to attend virtually as well. So please get in touch if you need any more information on that. And another little reminder here, we get asked this question quite a lot. People want to know where can they find certified suppliers for responsible mohair, responsible wool and responsible alpaca. There's a link here. Again, you'll have this in the presentation when it's sent out, or you can search Textile Exchange, find a certified supplier, and you'll also come up with this on our website, and you can look at that. And as noted here, we have over 1,000 certified companies at the moment that you can get in touch with. I do want to just take a very slight pause here and invite Siobhan just to turn her video on. Siobhan has joined us recently as the Animal Fibre and Material Coordinator. If you've been doing anything on the hub, or you've recently signed the new terms of reference, you've probably had communication from Siobhan. We're really pleased to have her to support all the work that Animal Fibres and Materials team is doing. So Siobhan, do you just want to say hi at this point?
Hi guys, it's nice to be a part of the team, and I look forward to interacting with every single one of you. I'm pleasantly annoying and I'm looking forward to get to know you.
Thank you very much, Siobhan. And yes, I mean, this is great for us to have Siobhan on the team. It does mean we have more capacity to talk with you, engage with you. If there's questions that you have about getting access to the hub, or being part of the hub, or being part of the wider Animal Fibres roundtable community, please feel free to reach out to Siobhan. And actually, we should have put her email address up here, but she's smomberg@textileexchange.org. We'll add that in before we send the slides out. And then our industry speakers today, these are who we'll be moving on to shortly. So we have Marco Kutsi, who's the General Manager from Mohair South Africa, Beauty from the Mohair Empowerment Trust, and Lloyd from the Mohair Empowerment Trust. Then Everett, who, as I've said, won't be able to join us, but we have his presentation from, who's a buyer from Samuel Natural Fibres. Ruth, the Sales, Marketing and Sustainability Officer from Stukken Yarns, and Dion, who's the Chief Executive Officer from Cape Wool, South Africa. Thank you all very much for joining us today and sharing with our attendees. So without further ado, I'm going to move into our first speaker, and that is Marco. So Marco, I'll hand over to you now. Please let me know when you'd like me to advance the slides.
Thanks, Anna. Hello, everybody. Anna, you can jump right in to the next slide. Thank you. Yeah, so today, firstly, I'm just going to touch on a couple of mohair industry statistics, followed up by the implementation of the Responsible Mohair Standard in South Africa, and how that affected the mohair market over the last couple of years. And then we've recently had the pleasure of visiting a couple of our mohair stakeholders in Europe. So I'm just gonna give some feedback from the international spinners and other stakeholders. Okay, this first slide is just showing the 2021 statistics of world or the global mohair production, which was 4.59 million kilograms. Okay, Anna. Okay, so of this 4.59 kilograms, 51% of the global mohair was produced in South Africa, and 16% was produced in Lesotho. So South Africa and Lesotho combined produced around 2/3 of the global mohair clip, which is both in Southern Africa. And then the other producing countries you'll see there on the right-hand side: Turkey, New Zealand, Argentina, the USA, Australia, and then a couple of others. Thanks, Anna. Approximately 80% of all mohair gets processed in South Africa. So we have two local processors facilities, that's Samuel and Stukken, and they produce 80% of the world's mohair. Not produce, process. Thank you, Anna. Of that 80% that gets processed in South Africa, approximately 70% of that gets exported in the mohair top form. The biggest importers of mohair is Italy. They take up around 40%, China around 30%, and in the UK around 15%. And then the other 30% gets further spun into yarns in South Africa by the majority, also by Samuel and Stukken, who has spinning facilities here in South Africa. Thanks, Anna. Okay, going to the Responsible Mohair Standard. I think everybody know by now, the Responsible Mohair Standard was launched in March 2020. In mohair, there's only one recognizable sustainable standard, that is the RMS. And why the standard is important to us, it's been independently created, and then the audit is also independently audited by a third party. It is currently recognized worldwide, internationally. It also includes value chain certification, which played a big part in why some of our local producers also signed up, because they felt that it's not only them that has to go through the certification process, but all the role players. So that's great. And then currently more than 1,400 companies post farm gate are able to move RMS, RWS, and RAS certified fibers through the doors, which is important because then all the stakeholders in the value chain, as we now, need to be certified for the end product to be able to be sold as an RMS, RWS, RAS product. Thanks, Anna. This is on the South African mohair production side. Our selling season is over 2 periods, so it's a summer and a winter season. This is just the stats of the first 7 sales in the summer season. Those are just the percentages. On the next slide, Anna, you'll see for the summer season, 69% of the South African mohair clip was RMS certified mohair, or sold as RMS certified mohair, which is great for us to see, and we hope to increase that further. Anna. And this is now the start of the winter season, so you'll see there the first sale at 60% certified RMS certified mohair, and then the second sale, which is actually happening today, has 83% certified mohair on. Thank you. So this slide just indicates the mohair price from 2018 to 2021. As we said earlier, the RMS was launched in March 2020, so that will fall under the 2020S period, the summer period there. You'll see from the winter season 2020 winter there, we saw a significant spike in the price for mohair. That's when RMS certified mohair was available to the market, so from the processor onwards, and we saw a big spike in demand for mohair. That is significant impact. I mean, you guys can see there the significant increase in price. I think the price increase there was 60% over a 1-year period, and that price increase was for certified materials, but also non-certified materials. There is a price difference currently, or the price difference at the beginning was 10% to 15%, but at the moment I think that premium is currently around 5%, if I'm correct. So that higher price continued into the summer season now of 2022, but we have seen the price drop now in the beginning of the 2022 winter season. I'll just speak on that a little bit later, Anna. Thank you. Okay, we had an opportunity recently to visit a couple of mohair stakeholders in Europe, especially in Italy. Anna? Just a couple of things that was important that we learned on our visits. We visited some Italian spinners and a couple of other stakeholders, and it was evident certification was for them of the utmost importance. Some of them only purchase certified materials, RMS, RWS, mohair, wool, RAS, alpaca, and they can't sell their yarns on if they can't produce the certification. Sustainability throughout the entire value chain is also important. They can only sell their yarns onto a manufacturer, a weaver that's also certified, and take it through all the way to the retailer. So that's very important for them. And then communication about the certification. They felt that industries can communicate more on wider platforms, just to tell our story, to tell where we are currently with our certifications and what we have available. And then just the visit to these various stakeholders, to visit individual supply chains, stakeholders is extremely important. I think the stakeholders had a lot of questions and which we could answer face to face, and that's important, and that's something we're looking at to do more in the near future. Thanks, Anna. Just a couple of challenges from their side. Obviously, we all know about the current war between Russia and Ukraine and how that affected gas, energy, electricity prices in Europe. So they had a lot of escalating input cost in producing the mohair yarns, wool yarns or the yarns, and then that combined with the increased raw material prices of mohair is putting them under pressure a bit. And we are beginning to see that filtering down in our auction halls as well. There's price pressure at producer level. We're starting to feel that. And then traditionally, on another note, traditionally something that these spinners could use instead of mohair is alpaca. But they are struggling to get their hands on certified, RIS certified alpaca. So they are beginning to look at something else you use rather than natural materials, which is not something we like to hear. And then just from a perspective, obviously, if we can get more RMS, RWS, RIS material fibers into the market, that will reduce or that would make the price points a little bit easier, and that is something we are definitely going to work on. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you very much. That's really interesting to hear that, and actually seeing the percentages of certified fibre in the sales shows how quickly the certified market has grown in mohair. I mean, it's amazing what you as an industry have achieved in a very short time. So thank you for sharing that. Are there any questions that have come through, Siobhan, in our Q&A, or any questions that anybody wants to type now to ask Marco? If not,
Anna?
feel free. Sorry, yes.
Sorry, we did have one from Charlie Fay. He said, is RMS certified up to the exporter, and are the processing facilities RMS, RWS certified?
Marco, would you like to take that?
Sure. Yes. Yes. The processor. Every value chain member are RMS certified, and they need to be RMS certified for the product to be sold at the end of the day as RMS certified. So yes, in South Africa, our processors, our spinners are definitely RMS, RWS certified.
Thank you. Anything else, Siobhan, or we can move on? I mean, if there's anything else, we'll come back at the end. Hopefully we'll have some time to do some final questions at the end, and anything we don't get to on this call, we will make sure we circle back and respond to. So please continue to type any questions you have into the Q&A. But now I would say I invite you to admire this beautiful photography. By the way, this is really something about why animal fibres are such amazing fibres and so beautiful to work with, and it's just very nice to have this photographic reminders. But I'm going to pass on now to Beauty from the Mohair Empowerment Trust to talk about the work that she's doing. Thank you, Beauty.
Thank you, Anna, and greetings to everyone. The Mohair Empowerment Trust is fully supported and managed by South African mohair industry. What we provide the Angora goats via the interest-free loan for over the 5 years period. So we have a partnership with the emerging farmers for 5 years, and we work together in making sure that at the end of 5 years, a farmer is commercialized. How do we do that? Anna, you can move to the next slide. We ensure the successful large-scale mohair producers at the end of 5 years. So we do that through training. The training that we provide to our emerging farmers, or as we identify our farmers, is making sure that we give them the mohair classing skills in preparation of the clip for the marketing. We ensure the animal handling, the management activities throughout all the seasons during the killing, the mating. So we do this together. So the farmers that we work with, we're farming together. And we also are fortunate to have a vet service, our own vet, Dr. Makey Hobson, that also give or provide training, health issues, attend to any health issues at any time when the farmers need. So those are trainings that we continue to give to our farmers in making sure that over the 5 years, after the 5 years, a farmer is fully commercialized and he can or she can stand on her own. And we continue to support and assist the upcoming farmers. So I'm responsible to make sure that every year I start a project by identifying new coming farmers. We also give support not only to emerging farmers or the MET partners, we also support the emerging farmers that are farming with Angora goats. We include them in our training. We give any advice. We make sure that they have information about the industry. So we fully support any emerging farmer that is farming with Angora goat in South Africa. We do that. And we're responsible to promote the Black economic empowerment within the industry. And if you look at the pictures around, those farmers are happy, they have happy faces. We support them throughout, and we make sure when we exit the project, they are fully commercialized farmers farming with Angora goats. The empowerment is now existing for 12 years. As I mentioned earlier, it was established by the industry. So it belongs to South African mohair industry. It's fully funded and supported by the entire industry. When I'm saying the industry, including the brokers, the buyers, support the trust. That's why it is successful. And we ensure, so those Black farmers that are identified, we go through the journey of making sure that at the end they are commercialized. At the moment, currently we are running about 7 projects that are involving plus minus 6,000 goats. Of about 4 projects settled successfully, and I think you can move, Anna. I'm a little bit fast. So 7 that are currently we're running, and 4 of that, for 4 it's settled, and we identified 2. As I mentioned, every year I need to start a project, and with extra funding that we managed to start 2 projects this year. And the vision for the Empowerment Trust in 2022 was to look after the female farmers. So within those projects, we try to identify the daughters, the female students, the farmers' wives, and we try to empower and involve them in projects. So we make sure that they are fully involved, especially later when I talk about the RMS, that's where we need them. And that was my vision for this year, to look after the female farmers, and I'm hoping to have them owning goats in future. The Mohair Empowerment Trust farmers, they contribute at least about 16,000 kilograms a year, and with how we're progressing, we're hoping to increase this. So this is just from the projects that I mentioned earlier, and it's a sustainable 16,000 kilograms of mohair that is contributed to the South African clip. We're proud of those farmers. These are just pictures. So when, as I mentioned earlier, the project is running for 5 years. We provide the goats, we provide training, and make sure that the project is successful in 5 years. Once a farmer has managed to pay back the interest-free loan, we hand over the certificate, meaning now they're owning the goats. And we're proud to see those faces, that these farmers graduated from the trust and they are now commercial farmers, farming sustainable. And we still visit, and we're still keeping in touch. We still know how much they're progressing. We know we're keeping in touch. So we're not stopping after 5 years. We continue the journey and telling the story of the success story through them. Yeah, this is an exciting part and the important part of today. The Mohair Empowerment Trust partners, they are all 100% RMS certified. When the RMS was launched back in 2020, luckily I was in the same office with the team. I took the opportunity to introduce the RMS process, and with support from the brokers, from the industry, we informed the empowerment partners or the emerging farmers through workshop. We had a workshop during lockdown. I remember it was COVID times at the time, but we took the opportunity to introduce this certification, and it was a journey of learning. There was a lot of things that we had to look after, make sure that they are in place. But we were proud. Early 2021, we started the journey mid-2020, sometime June, and early 2021, we managed to certify all our partners. At the time, it was about 10 projects, and we managed to certify. And it was a journey, so I'm saying everyone was supporting, the brokers, the field agent, the commercial farmers. So we've done this together, and we're proud to say we are producing the sustainable mohair to the South African clip. So they are all RMS, and we continue to guide the new projects that are coming to make sure that they are RMS certified. The non-partners also, we're trying to support and train and informing them of the RMS. This is a young farmer, Lloyd James, that I'll be handing over to him soon. He will be speaking on behalf of other partners, and he's currently running about 712 goats. We're hoping to increase numbers as we go. We started the project with him in 2018, and he is selling his clip today, and hope it definitely went well. And he is RMS certified since 2021. And Lloyd is doing a lot of work with the students. As you can see in these pictures, we have a lot of students in his farm. I'm really excited to have a partner like him. There's so many things that we do together, and I think the future is bright with him. Lloyd, I'm handing over to you, and please share how we've been helpful for you and the RMS certification.
Hi, good afternoon. I hope everybody hears me. Good afternoon. As Yuri said, I'm Lloyd. I am farming in Somerset East in the Eastern Cape. And yes, as an MET partner, what my experience with the RMS, to be honest, was really, I'm a person that that believes in obedience. So it was in order for me to comply, it was a necessity, because I don't think there's any farmer that wouldn't look after his animals properly. So it was very important for me to be RMS, because I wanted my animals to be you know, I do look after my animals, and I'm sure certain that all other farmers, they also do look after their animals. And it was important for us to be certified as RMS. And as the process itself to be RMS, honestly, most of the infrastructure on the farm was already there. So I just had to change some things, like, you know, from the fluorescent lights in a shearing shed to LED bulbs. It was a bit costly, but you know, I needed to be the cost was minimal compared to the benefit that I'm currently getting from the whole RMS thing. And as instead of affecting me, the RMS, it has really it has made me a much more better farmer. And I can with certainty say that my current production it's much more better. I keep record on the kids that are kidding, and currently we are standing we've kidded about 90% of our ewes have kidded. And after they started kidding, we bring them into the sheds to protect the small ones from bad weathers and so on. And after 2 weeks inside the shed, when they're strong and bonded with the mother, we then let them outside. And yes, it's very, as Marco earlier on said, that I was with Marco and I had the opportunity to go with them to Italy. And I've also realized, and I've moved the message over to my colleagues, MET partners, and I've told them, look, guys, we have to do this thing of RMS. It is very, very important. Otherwise, we will not be able to sell our produce. And because I've seen it myself, I heard it with my own ears, that the people that buy the produce from us also, they have more registrations than us. So it's very, very important that every one of us should be registered as RMS and RWS. I hope I have covered everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. That's really great, and Beauty as well. Really nice to hear the real stories from what's happening on the ground. And Beauty, the work of the Mohair Empowerment Trust is really inspiring and amazing that you're 100% Responsible Mohair certified. And Lloyd, it's really good to hear that you feel that the RMS certification has been good for you, and it has supported you to be in your, you as you were saying, you've always looked after your goats well, but it's a way of supporting and verifying that you are a good farmer, a good mohair farmer, and delivering what the market needs. Are there any immediate questions that have come through for Beauty or Lloyd? Siobhan?
Anna, we have one from Vanessa. Beauty, if you don't mind answering this one. She firstly says, great work to the Mohair Empowerment Trust. And how many farmers have received the free loan up until now? How is the success rate in becoming economically independent? So Beauty, I don't know if you want to explain quickly how that loan works, the interest-free loan.
Okay, thank you, Siobhan. As I mentioned, the trust is existing for 12 years, and as any organization, I think when the trust started, there were small projects, and that I will talk from the commercial point of view that we're trying to achieve. We at the moment in our record, we have 12 projects, and out of those 12 projects, we have 4 that are settled. And I am I can confidently say 2 is commercial standing. So we're so proud of those 2. And how it works, we buy goods via the interest-free loan. They paying back 25% of every clip is sold to the broker, back to the Empowerment Trust, so that we start the new project the following year.
Thank you very much, Beauty. That's great. And thank you, Lloyd. I'm going to keep moving on, but as I say, hopefully we'll have time for any follow-up questions at the end. So this next section was going to be Evert from SAMIL, but he's unable to join us. So Marco, you very kindly volunteered to just run through a little of information from SAMIL's perspective. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Anna. Just before I start, I just need to mention that this whole presentation is SAMIL and Evert's perspective. It's not my South Africa or my perspective. I'm just gonna run through it. So SAMIL Natural Fibers in South Africa, they have a farming enterprise, processing facility, they trade mohair, and then they also have a spinning facility in South Africa. Thank you, Anna. How has the RMS RWS unfolded on the buying side? So there was at the beginning a lot of skepticism around RMS and how it would impact all the role players in the industry. Fortunately, the 2 main buyers of mohair in South Africa, SAMIL and Sticken, immediately supported the RMS, which meant that there was immediate demand for RMS mohair on our auction floor. At the time, and I think Evert told me that this was the critical point for them, is how to manage the non-certified mohair stock and then with the RMS certified stock, because they sat on a lot of non-certified stock when the RMS was launched, and they had to manage expectation because they had to sell, obviously for commercial purposes, the non-certified mohair and then the certified mohair as well. And then as a buyer and processor, at the beginning, I mean, when RMS mohair became available on the auction floor, they were really unsure about what premium they had to pay for certified materials compared to non-certified materials, and they were unsure if the spinner that bought the mohair top from them would be willing to pay the higher price. And then given the limited quantity of mohair available, it was a challenge from a production point in terms of production or process to process 2 different mohair top lines now, because say for example they would process a 25 micron top. They now have to do 2 different lines for a certified line and a non-certified line, which increased the cost of processing and the transaction cost in general. Thanks, Anna. Okay, is there demand for RMS mohair? According to them, yes, there's definitely, but price and availability is important considerations. Initially, the international spinners were desperate to have some RMS tops available, and they didn't really care about the price they had to pay to get their hands on the material. But as more stock become available, price that become and is playing an important factor. Some spinners is only now purchasing RMS mohair. We saw that on our trip as well. And the introduction of RMS increased the general demand of mohair, as brands who previously excluded mohair from their ranges were now able to include it in their collections. And then from our side, we also saw that in my presentation was the increase in demand and the price. And it also helped that RWS has been implemented a couple of years prior to the RMS. So spinners and brands were already familiar with the standard. Thanks, Anna. How has price been influenced? So the RMS standard was launched, okay, we already say that was launched in 2020. There was a relative high quantity of non-certified stocks as many customers reduced their consumption in this period because of COVID. From October, prices started to rise as customers started to return back to work. The expectation was that RMS would trade at a premium of about 10% initially, but as more RMS mohair became available, this premium would be reduced. So initially the certification was more important than the inherent quality of the mohair. Just as an example, our RMS bale with the same micron and an average length was getting a higher price than a good length mohair with a beautiful style but not certified. So if you were RMS certified, there's a bigger price for you, even if the quality was less. As more RMS mohair became available, the dynamics started to revert back to the norm, because most of the top quality breeders are now RMS certified. So a lot of the good quality mohair farmers are all RMS certified, which means the best quality is certified. Anna, you can go on. The most of South African producers were able to adopt the certification within a 12-month period. There was a big escalation in the quantity of RMS, but it has now stabilized at 70 to 75% of the clip. Commercially speaking, the percentage of 70% is adequate from a processing and sales point of view. One of the unintended consequences of RWS is that the larger brokers are using their scope certificates as a marketing tool to attract more clients. And some will feel more effort should be made to lower transaction cost audit fees for producers in order for them to be less dependent on brokers. Thanks, Anna. Is there demand for non-certified mohair? As a mohair buyer, the main concern is the availability of mohair given the decrease in production we have witnessed over the last 3 decades. The RMS standard should be seen as a tool to help increase the production and not as a barrier to entry for the industry. I think what Evert is trying to say here is in South Africa, about 15% of the mohair comes from communal farmers and farming, which don't have the infrastructure to comply with the current RMS as it is today. So we will always have 10 to 15% South African mohair that is not going to be able to comply with the certification. And they must also have a market to sell their mohair into, because it's not as if they're not farming sustainably, it's just that they can't currently comply with the RMS. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you very much, Marco. And as Marco said at the beginning, this is Samuel's presentation, but we're very grateful that Marco could go through the slides there. It is interesting, this point about some of the communal farmers, and we obviously do have a communal farmer audit module that we piloted last year, and we hope that in future that might be a way we can reach out to some of the farmers who are more challenged at the moment in becoming certified. But I'm going to, seeing as we don't have Evert with us, I'm going to move straight into Ruth's presentation, and then obviously we can have any questions on the sort of processing side after Ruth. So Ruth, I'll hand over to you now. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. As Anna mentioned, my name is Ruth Pringle, and I'm from the Stucken Group. I have a design background, and I'm now in sales and marketing in the yarn division, and have recently taken on the role as sustainability officer for the group. In addition to working with responsible animal fiber products, I also live on a RWS and RMS certified farm. So experiencing how these standards have benefited the industry from farm through to finished product. So it is a great honor to be speaking on this topic today. Thanks, Hannah. The Stukken Group is a vertically integrated mill, processing mohair into tops, spinning and dyeing of natural fibers, and finally weaving of fabrics, knitting and weaving of fabrics and finished products. Today I'll be focusing on RMS tops and yarns. To start, probably the most important point is how we believe the RMS standard to be invaluable for us as well as for the industry. After the PETA video, we all felt our industry was at stake, and we're very proud to be part of an industry who pulled together and adopted the standard incredibly quickly, largely driven by Mohair South Africa. In doing so, we were able to retain business and get new business. This was not only true for clients seeking certified mohair, as the standard brought a general confidence in the fiber, and this carried through to the mill certification. Many of our clients require this, even if they aren't requiring certified mohair. Again, we believe it is about the relationship and the confidence the certification brings. From Anthony Kirsten, who's more on the mohair top side of the business, he confirms the demand for RMS tops continues to increase, specifically for knitwear and finer microns. He also says there's been an increase in the demand for RMS tops from China, which we expect to grow when the market picks up again. With around 70% of the mohair clip expected to be RMS certified, there are certain qualities which are now only available as RMS. As this grows, we are finding the supply of RMS not to be an issue, more the supply of non-RMS for those where price is maybe more important than the certification. We find less of a demand for RMS yarns, but it is important to mention here that Stukken Yarns spins yarns predominantly for industrial and technical applications, where the demand for RMS is far less than, for example, knitwear and fashion. So of our total order book, only 10% of our yarns are required to be RMS. There may be more RMS used in our yarns, but this would be because of supply, not because it has been requested by the client. Thanks, Anna. And then I think quite similar to Earfit's presentation before, there have also been challenges of RMS. The first are the inefficiencies of having certified and non-certified raw material. The size of the mohair clip when compared to wool is small. So from a production point of view, and particularly in combing, it is already a challenge to optimize with bigger mohair lots. So with introduction of RMS, we now have two versions of the same quality, which means smaller lots causing greater inefficiencies and higher production charges. Secondly, we have found the premiums to be a massive challenge for our clients. Historically, mohair was blended from different origins to either meet a specific price point or because mohair from a particular origin performed better for the intended application. Since RMS rules out for the moment mohair from other origins, customers have to pay a premium for using only South African mohair and a further premium for RMS certified. Some of our clients have been able to convert, but others have had to develop their own reasons or story on why they've continued to source from other origins like Lesotho. Thanks, Anna. And yeah, and then we really believe the responsible animal fiber standards are vital in addressing key sustainability issues. From our experience, we believe the only way to ensure premiums for these are at a reasonable level is if standards are adopted at scale in all major producing regions. As an industry, we need to avoid multiple standards and put pressure on the costs of becoming certified and transaction certificates to ensure standards are affordable and inclusive of all markets. Yeah, and then just to conclude, I'd just like to highlight how fortunate we are to be part of the South African wool and mohair industry. For all those listening today, we are really like a family here in our speakers. We all know one another very well and probably shared an office at one point in time. And this connectedness is, I think, one of the reasons why the South African industry were able to adopt these standards so quickly. And it is also why I think we're just scratching the surface in the value add possible here in South Africa. And how this connectedness between farmer, broker, industry body, processor, and manufacturer has the potential to redefine transparency for brands looking to collaborate and get involved with meaningful projects at source. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. And that was a really good point at the end about how closely the mohair industry in South Africa works together. And I think that some of the amazing figures and statistics that we've seen of how quickly RMS has been adopted and how it's being used, that really is down to that kind of cooperation from you guys, from the farmers through the brokers and the processors. So thank you very much for raising that as a point. Are there any questions coming up on the sort of processing side that we can deal with?
Yes, so Lane Finley says, Ruth, what do you see as the sustainability challenges? I know it's quite an in-depth question, so if you want to answer it briefly, and then we could maybe get an answer out in more detail on the hub afterwards.
Sorry, Siobhan, the sustainability issues.
What do you see as the sustainability challenges? Lane asks.
Goodness, in general, I don't know, that's a difficult question.
We can perhaps ask whoever asked that, perhaps to type a few more details about what specifically they're interested in, and perhaps we can circle back to that one, because I think it could be a very big topic. But yeah,
where do you start?
Give a little bit more detail, and we'll make sure we either answer it later in this call, or we'll come back to you afterwards. But
thank you, Anna.
Thank you. Sorry, I'll do that and move us on just in the interest of time. But thank you very much, Ruth. I'm going to move on now. We're going to switch fibres slightly, but still stay very firmly in South Africa. And Dion, if I can ask you to speak on behalf of Cape Wools now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, and I'd just like to place on record, I'm speaking about wool today. And I think like Ruth said, we all know each other quite well and have worked together at some point in time. But thank you. And I'm going to try and give you a little bit insight into what transpired in South Africa with regards to wool and the mouth disease outbreak and the ban imposed by China. So next slide, Anna. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of the industry for those who don't know where South Africa sits in the global wool industry. Next, thanks. So Cape Wools, very similar to Mohair South Africa. We're an industry body, a not-for-profit company. And in the same way, we get our funding, or the bulk of our funding, from the Wool Trust, and then a small portion from voluntary levies from the Wool Buyers Association. Next, Anna. So South African wool production this last season, and just to make it clear, the season stretches from July to June. So this is up to 30 June 22, around about 42 million kilograms. This excludes wool produced in Lesotho. We sit with around 8,000 commercial farmers in South Africa, and very different from the mohair industry, where we sit with a very large number of communal farmers producing wool. Now, I must just emphasize the communal farmers farm on land which do not belong to them. So it's mainly, you can see on the map there, in the Eastern Cape region, stretching up to the southern border of Lesotho, which is that little white piece in the middle of South Africa there. Yeah, thanks, Anna. Yes, so these communal farmers predominantly deliver into shearing sheds, so they belong to a shearing shed. And we have around about 1,200 shearing sheds on our database, which each one also has a producer number, which then feed into our statistics. So, and I also spoke about, standards for the communal sector. We are also busy rolling out a program specifically for the wool farmers in the communal sector. Thanks, Anna. So So just in terms of exports, and once again, completely opposite to the mohair industry in South Africa, all of these exports are in greasy. We currently are in a position in South Africa where we do not have any commercial scale wool scouring and top making currently taking place, which is very problematic for us as an industry, especially when we have an outbreak of animal disease. But you can just see there the blue going back to 2019-20, and the yellow was the previous season. Nearly 80% of the exports went to China. And then this year, although the ban only came in from the 1st of April, those export figures to China dropped dramatically to around 54%. And then a little bit, well, the biggest then to the after that to the Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Italy, and then a little bit to India and Egypt. Next, Anna. So just in terms, and we've been talking about sustainability, and we'll try and just quickly go over this. But there you can just see from 2017-18 what has happened to sustainable wool production in South Africa. I must just stress this does include not only RWS, although RWS is the far biggest portion of this, but this will include all certified sustainability schemes in South Africa. So at the moment, this past season, around 29% of the wool received are certified. And I just maybe want to stress one very critical, important point, and that is, although in terms of total global wool production, South Africa is relatively small. When it comes to merino wools destined for the apparel sector or the apparel market, we are the second largest producer of these wools after Australia, which I think is quite important. Next, Anna. So we as an industry body carry all the tags for the various sustainability schemes, and in trying to really add value for the value chains, we are in the process of implementing a blockchain for all those standards. So we hold all the records from the producer right through until that wool is exported and on a ship. And we're going to act as the trust anchor and actually carry the cost to implement that in South Africa for the South African wool industry. Next, Anna. So just in terms of foot and mouth disease, next. So just, and I want to take you back to 2019 because it's quite important what happened on the 7th of January 2019. Before that, South Africa was still FMD free with the OIE, which is now the World Organization for Animal Health. On the 8th of February, China imposed that ban. And then on the 8th of May, China announced that products considered safe or inactivated from the virus may once again be imported. And of course, there was no health certificate in place that had to be negotiated. And on the 23rd of July, China announced that greasy wool once again will be accepted. At that point in time, there were certain requirements that we had to comply with, and that took some time to implement. Next slide, Anna. So just in terms of what happened was that we had, or not we, apologies, each broker or registered exporter had to install temperature loggers in their store. Those temperatures are logged daily to ensure compliance, so to ensure the minimum temperatures in terms of the OIE. It's just easier to refer to if I say OIE. Those temperatures are logged every day into our servers. The state veterinarian then has access to that data, and the state vet can then ensure that each lot destined for export to China actually meet the requirements. Each container is inspected, disinfected, fumigated, and sealed before departure, and that seal is then recorded against that specific consignment. Next, Anna. Now, what happened this year, very interesting, on the 1st of April, China imposed a new ban on the import of all cloven hooved animals and their products. After quite a few interaction, correspondence, requests, demands, China announced on the 6th of May that they would accept scoured wool and mohair from South Africa. Now, this was extremely interesting to us, but I'm very glad to say, and really elated to say, that on the 23rd of August, China lifted the ban with immediate effect. What was surprising was that China did not request any additional measures to be implemented. I mean, if you just go to the next slide, please, Anna. And this was our stance right from the start, and it was quite confusing for us why China would accept scoured wool and mohair and not the time and temperature requirements, as it is contained in exactly the same clause in the World Organization for Animal Health. And these are the conditions we comply with for wool, which is point number 5. And the easiest for all the export facilities was actually to ensure a constant or a minimum temperature of 18 degrees can be maintained within the stores for 4 weeks. So that's what we comply with. One of the brokers do have a hot box as well. So when there's an urgent shipment, they can actually heat it for 8 days at 37 degrees. So nothing has changed since 2019 when these measures were implemented and agreed upon between South Africa and China. And this was the frustration for us right from the beginning, when we said there is no scientific or sound reasons for China to impose this ban on the export of greasy wool from South Africa. Next, thanks, Anna. So just to give you a brief example, this is the recording of the various lots. We've just blocked out the broker there. The lot number, the last temperature recorded, the weigh-in date, that's what we take as the shearing date, the days.
I have a suspicion that I know that South Africa has some rolling blackouts that I think were due to start. I'm wondering whether Dion's been caught by that, but we are actually at time anyway. I was just going to join in to say to Dion, I think that the thing here is it's very good news that the ban on moving fibre to China has ended. So we'll take that as a positive to finish on. I know there were a couple of questions we didn't get to. Siobhan will make sure that we circle back on those and get those responses. But for now, Rose, I'm going to throw it back to you to close out the session. Thank you.
Wonderful. I want to say thank you so much to our speakers today, and thank you for participating in today's webinar. As a friendly reminder, an email will be sent to all registered participants with a link to today's presentation. And also, please remember that you can join conversations on the hub to ask questions or continue the conversation. That concludes our webinar. Thank you. Goodbye.